She wasn't supposed to be there, not in handcuffs, not on camera. But as the roadside interrogation unfolded, the air thick with suspicion, two black SUVs screeched to a halt. Doors flew open. In that moment, everything the cops thought they knew about her and about themselves began to unravel. If you love interesting stories like this that expose the truth, please give this video a thumbs up and tell us in the comments section where in the world you are watching this video, and also do well to smash that subscribe button. The sun barely clung to the horizon when Officer Jake Miller flipped on his cruiser lights and pulled behind a black SUV in Portland, Oregon. A broken tail light. Nothing major. He'd write a warning and move on. That was the plan. He rubbed his tired face and approached the driver's window. "Evening," he said. The tinted glass lowered halfway, revealing a black woman in her late 30s with shoulder-length braids and a navy blazer. "License and registration, please." She handed over a small leather wallet without hesitation. "Your name, ma'am?" "Nora Chambers." Jake opened the ID and froze. The card looked official, but unlike anything he'd seen before. A federal seal and unfamiliar code numbers. "Is this some kind of joke?" he muttered. Nora didn't flinch. "It's legitimate." "What's the agency?" "This doesn't say CIA or FBI. I'm not at liberty to disclose that, officer." Jake narrowed his eyes. "Is this fake ID?" "That's a felony." Still calm, she replied. "It's not fake." He returned to his cruiser and called dispatch. "Need backup. Got a woman in a black SUV. ID looks federal, but not standard." Minutes later, another patrol car arrived with two rookie officers. Jake approached Nora again. "Ma'am, step out of the vehicle." Nora sighed softly, unbuckled her seatbelt, and complied. One rookie moved toward her. "I'm placing you in cuffs until we verify who you are," he said, voice cracking. "You're making a mistake," she said simply. Pedestrians slowed, phones emerging to record. "Is she being arrested?" someone whispered. Nora didn't argue. She turned, allowing her wrists to be cuffed. Her blazer shifted, revealing a small earpiece behind her right ear. Jake noticed, but said nothing. She was too calm, and that bothered him. What Jake hadn't seen was her smartwatch, tilted at just the right angle seconds earlier, as she whispered something too soft to hear. "Where were you headed?" Jake asked. "Back home." "Where's home?" She looked directly at him. "I think you already know I can't answer that." Jake stepped closer. "Being mysterious doesn't help your case. All I see is someone with unverifiable ID refusing basic questions. You have everything you need. You just don't recognize it." The crowd grew. 5 people, then 8. A teenage girl in a red hoodie shouted, "You're cuffing her for a broken light? She didn't do anything. Step back." A rookie called, but no one moved. Jake radioed dispatch. "Any word on that ID?" "Still checking. Nothing in regular databases." He motioned to the rookie. "Pat her down." As the officer stepped forward, Nora finally spoke up. "I wouldn't do that." "Why not?" "Because if you put your hands on me, you might trigger a response you can't walk back from." That's when they heard it. Screeching tires. 2 black SUVs skidded to a stop down the block. 4 men in suits emerged, moving with practiced precision. The tallest flashed a badge. "Federal Protective Service. That woman is in our custody. Release her immediately." Jake stepped forward. "We haven't confirmed her identity. You're standing on the edge of a serious federal incident. Let her go before this becomes something bigger." Another agent whispered something to the rookie behind Nora. Whatever he said made the young officer turn pale. Jake felt the shift. These weren't overzealous agents. They were real. He'd seen that badge once before, in training. "Rare. Classified." The agent turned to Nora. "Are you okay, Agent Chambers?" She nodded slightly. He pulled out a device, scanned her ID, and the screen turned green with a sharp beep. Confirmed. Jake blinked. What agency are you with? The tall man looked at him. She works for people who don't carry business cards. But as one layer peeled back, another cracked open. Not everyone watching had pure intentions. Someone had been waiting for Nora to slip up. The rookie unlocked her cuffs with trembling hands. Nora flexed her wrists without drama or anger. Jake stepped back. You can't override a lawful stop. The tall agent lowered his voice. Officer Miller, your stop almost triggered a national security breach. Agent Chambers has spent over a year undercover tracking something far above your pay grade. And you just pulled her cover on a public sidewalk. Jake's radio buzzed. Dispatch here. No hits on that ID. Wait. Scratch that. We're getting a ping on secure channel. Too late. Nora walked toward the agents, reporting quietly like they'd planned for this exact failure. The agent looked at her SUV. Did anyone touch the vehicle? Just me, said Jake. Good. Don't touch it again. Another agent opened the trunk, revealing a hidden compartment containing a mysterious case. Was she transporting? Jake started. Classified. Nora cut him off. Everything's classified with you people. She paused. Sometimes the people you're supposed to trust turn out to be the ones selling you out. Before Jake could respond, someone shouted, Is she CIA or something? The agents turned to the growing crowd. Please stop filming. Why? Asked the girl in the red hoodie. So you can pretend this didn't happen? Nora stepped forward, not threatening but direct. You have every right to film. Just know what happened here won't stay simple. Then her expression changed. She scanned the crowd, eyes landing on a man at the back. Baseball cap pulled low, hoodie zipped high. Not recording, not speaking. Target acquired, she whispered into her watch. The man realized too late. He turned and ran. An agent chased him down an alley, firing something with a pop. Seconds later, he returned with the man cuffed and bleeding. Tracker, not a mic, the agent confirmed. Nora exhaled sharply. They were watching for me. The stop wasn't random. You saying someone inside fed your route? Jake asked, stunned. She didn't answer directly, just glanced at the rookie's radio. No words, just a flicker of doubt. If her route was leaked, someone in that precinct wasn't just incompetent. They were actively working against her. Undercover. The precinct building on Cedar Street was quiet when Nora walked in that night. She'd left the federal agents behind, entering with just her blazer, badge, and determination. The front desk officer looked up. Can I help you? Nora flashed her credentials. Internal audit. Secure the floor. Within minutes, word spread. Jake sat in the break room when a colleague entered. She's here. Who? Chambers. Walked in like she owns the place. Command told us to cooperate. Jake abandoned his half-eaten dinner and found Nora in the hallway. You just walk in here now, he asked. I don't have time to explain the entire chain of command, she replied. He blocked her path. I deserve to know what's happening. Nora stared hard at him. You nearly tanked a national security operation. They locked eyes before she quietly added. When I gave you my ID, you assumed it was fake. Not because it didn't scan. Because you didn't think someone like me could carry it. Jake opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to find the leak. Before she could continue, another officer entered. Deputy Rick Fenton, mid-30s, stocky build, perfectly pressed uniform. His eyes went cold when he saw Nora. Well, the ghost walks among us. Jake looked between them. You know each other? He worked with me overseas, Nora said flatly. Brief assignment. Until he disappeared mid-operation. Rick smirked. Disappeared? You walked away with encrypted contacts and left 3 bodies in a safe house. My version is the only one that came back. Jake's jaw tightened. Wait, he was CIA? Not anymore, Nora replied. Rick stepped closer. What now? Playing hero in my precinct. Nora pulled out a small recorder and pressed play. Rick's voice emerged. She leaves that drop point by 7:10. She always takes the same route. I can guarantee it. Jake's face fell. Rick didn't move. I tapped the signal this morning, Nora said coldly. You've been leaking intel to foreign contacts for months. You fed them my location tonight. Rick lunged. Jake moved faster, crashing against him. As officers rushed in to restrain Rick, Nora calmly stated, Rick Fenton, you're under arrest for treason, unauthorized foreign collaboration, and obstruction of a federal investigation. Underscore In the holding cell, Rick paced angrily while Nora stood watching. You think this ends with me? He snarled. You're not my endgame, Rick. You were just the decoy. He stopped pacing. What's that mean? The man who followed me tonight wasn't waiting by coincidence. You fed my route to someone, but he didn't recognize me because you gave him an old photo. That tells me you don't know who's really pulling the strings. Rick laughed unconvincingly. You'll never trace it. You're good at betrayal, Rick, but you're a small player. Outside, Jake waited, shoulders slumped. So he was one of yours? No, he was one of theirs pretending to be one of mine. Jake rubbed his forehead. What happens now? We keep going. In the evidence room, Nora opened the case from her SUV. Inside were photos, maps, surveillance images, and recordings in languages Jake couldn't identify. One man appeared in every folder. That's who I was tracking, she said. Goes by Malik. Freelance operative for several hostile entities. Moves weapons, data, people. Why Portland? That's the question. He doesn't come to places like this unless someone gives him a reason. Jake studied the photos. You think Rick brought him? No. Rick doesn't have the authority or brain power for that. But someone used him to steer me into that arrest, hoping I'd be removed from the assignment. What if the arrest had gone wrong? She looked him dead in the eye. Then you'd be at the center of an international crisis. And I'd probably be dead. Jake paused. What do you need from me? Surveillance footage. If Malik was nearby, he's on traffic cams. An hour later, Nora was analyzing feeds when she made a discovery. Malik had been parked outside a middle school, watching for 43 minutes. More concerning was the second man who approached him, handing over an envelope. Jake returned with more footage. He circled your arrest point twice. You recognize this man? Nora asked, pointing to the screen. Jake leaned in. That's Howard Grayson, city planner. Has clearance for traffic systems, building plans. On a Homeland Security committee. He's not dirty. He's being used, Nora explained. Malik moves like a courier. Carries classified materials across borders. If he's here working with Grayson, they're preparing for a transfer. What kind? Data. Personnel. Secrets. She showed him a map of buildings under Grayson's oversight. All experiencing recent power testing. All using the same contractor. Summit Solutions. That's a federal contractor, Jake noted. Exactly. If you compromise one Summit node, you affect multiple departments, including law enforcement. That explains how Rick knew my route. She checked the time. That transfer is happening in the next 2 hours. Where do we go? I need access to maintenance tunnels. Grayson has clearance, meaning there are blind spots only he knows. Her phone buzzed. We've got eyes on Malik. He's leaving a hardware warehouse carrying something small, headed toward the courthouse district. That's it. That's the transfer. Jake blocked the door. I'm coming with you. I don't need backup. I'm not backup. I'm a witness. I'm not letting this department sit blind anymore. After midnight, Nora and Jake entered an old maintenance tunnel. Their footsteps echoed against wet concrete as they moved forward cautiously. 50 yards in, they found Malik, slim, mid-40s, stubbled, leather jacket, holding a silver case. "You're early," he said calmly. "You're sloppy," Nora replied. Malik smiled slightly. "You were always good with words. Better with guns. Carrying tonight?" Nora didn't answer. "I want the case. You think I came all this way to hand it over?" Footsteps echoed from above. Nora turned. "Did you bring someone?" "Just the broker. He doesn't like being seen." "You've already lost Chambers," called a voice. Another man appeared, Howard Grayson, sweating, gun in hand. "I used to admire your work," he said. "You stayed invisible longer than anyone. Now you're standing in a drain pipe with a stolen gun." Nora replied coldly. Malik shifted, hand hovering over the case latch. "No!" Nora snapped. "You open that case. I end you right here." Jake raised his weapon. Grayson laughed. "This doesn't end in gunfire. It ends with your file buried under red tape. You're leaking personnel movements to foreign networks," Nora said steadily. "That case holds access credentials. If it gets out, 6 agents go dark by sunrise." Malik's expression changed, enough for Nora to see he hadn't been told everything. "They lied to you," she told him. "You're not carrying money. You're carrying names." Malik's jaw clenched. "I want the case," she repeated, "or I leak tonight's video. Your face, your contact, your car." Grayson tensed. "She's bluffing." "No," Malik said quietly. "She isn't." In one motion, Malik turned and slammed the case into Grayson's ribs. The man collapsed, gun clattering away. Nora lunged forward, grabbed the case, and kicked the weapon aside. Malik raised his hands. "I never agreed to kill anyone. I was told it was clean. Paper only." Nora stared at him. "You chose survival. That doesn't make you innocent." Jake called for backup, eyes darting between the men. Nora stood still, clutching the case. "The worst part," she said softly, "this wasn't supposed to happen here. This was just another pass-through. Now a city burns with questions it isn't ready for." The courthouse district locked down by dawn. Inside a federal building, Nora faced 2 officials holding folders with her name. "You broke protocol," one stated. "Compromised a covert assignment. Went rogue in a precinct. Coordinated with an officer without clearance." Nora leaned forward. "I also stopped a classified data transfer, neutralized 2 domestic threats, and recovered an access key that would have exposed our safe assets across 6 countries." Silence. Outside, Jake waited, sipping stale coffee. When Nora emerged, he managed a half-smile. "They read you the riot act? They tried. What now? They'll sweep it. Frame it as a local miscommunication. Bury Rick's record. Reassign Grayson's access. Call Malik detained under undisclosed cooperation. Sanitized by noon. And you? I'll be sent somewhere else. My face is burned here." Jake leaned against the wall. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For the stop. For not recognizing the weight you carry." Nora looked at him a beat too long. "You made a bad call, but you didn't double down. That's what counts. You could have gotten killed. But I didn't. And maybe now neither will someone else." Across town, a bystander's video of Nora being handcuffed had gone viral. 800,000 views overnight. News outlets called it the Portland incident. questions piling up about verification processes and why it took federal agents to de-escalate. But the real question no one dared ask: how many Nora Chambers never make it to the part where someone listens? Rick Fenton transferred to federal detention. No bail, no press. Howard Grayson resigned citing health concerns. His house already cleared when reporters arrived. Malik vanished to a black site, reportedly cooperative. Jake returned to duty 3 days later. He drove slower now, watched more carefully, thought longer before speaking. The next time he pulled someone over, he checked the ID 3 times, then looked at the person, not just the credentials. But Nora was already gone. Her SUV rolled along back roads outside Portland. No GPS. Her directions came through channels most would never know existed. A new assignment waited 3 states away. Before leaving, Jake had asked, "Does this ever get easier?" She hadn't answered then. Now, hours later, she whispered to herself, "No, but you stop expecting it to." At a rest stop, the clerk seemed to recognize her from somewhere. On her way out, a news alert flashed on her phone. Portland Police Department announces new federal liaison role following internal oversight incident. Below it, Jake's photo. A new badge position, less for show, more for responsibility. Back on the road, Nora thought about what people never see. The close calls, the agents who vanish without farewell. Most think danger comes from foreign names and unmarked vans, but often it's in routine moments. A broken tail light, a request for ID, decisions made in seconds that determine whether someone keeps breathing. A call came through her earpiece. "Agent Chambers, cleared for briefing? Go ahead." Chatter in Phoenix. Same network. "Might be a test drop this time. Send the packet. I'll review en route." At the next light, a little girl crossed with her mother, braids bouncing, backpack swinging. Nora smiled slightly. Some fought with signs, cameras, court cases. Her weapon was different. Silence, precision, patience. What happened in Portland would fade from headlines. But somewhere a teenager in a red hoodie had filmed everything and wasn't taking it down. And somewhere else, Jake Miller would start listening before judging. That was enough. Because sometimes justice doesn't come with headlines. It comes with a pause, someone taking 1 second longer to think, and maybe that second saves a life. Next time you see someone questioned or cuffed, remember stories like Nora's. Unseen, unheard, but fighting daily to keep things from slipping too far. Maybe asking questions before making judgments is where real change begins.